We have the largest diversity of butterflies, a most colorful creature in the world, yet we cannot export them in exchange for the grass we import. Nigeria is truly blessed, but does a good job of keeping us wondering what is wrong here. We're groping in the dark for answers to security, power supply, ethno-religious crisis, infrastructural development, skyrocketing unemployment rates, civil and political unrest, with our citizens having to duck their heads in shame now and then in foreign countries, making us look like a joke to the rest of the world. This show is simply an attempt to shed some light on these issues and hopefully provide solutions to imminent doom. It is not an attack on the government. It is not an attack on any ethnicity. It is not an attack on any individual of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Talk about social responsibility? Let's do this together. From the city of Kaduna. This is MEMO. You have a message. It's MEMO. It's MEMO.
Hello, my fellow Nigerians. How are you doing? How your area? Hope everything is moving smoothly. Hope no erosion. I believe there is no. This is your #1 variety TV talk show where we give you the best of information, educate you, entertain you, and lots more. I am your host, Dan Hausawa. So let's see what we have in our memo for today. Mr. Producer, you tell say I don't forget. I never forget you. Throw me the memo.
Nigeria may still be fumbling in the dark, as it were, when our legal system is in question, but there are some elements of light. That is to say that its citizenry is yet to understand the force of law, since they have only been too well acquainted with the law of force. Regime after regime, there has been a steady abuse and misuse of power, and the function of the law is to buff and attempt to eliminate all these force and recklessness where power and leadership is concerned. Believe it or not, that is only a tip of the legal system's iceberg. The law is as useful in the courtroom as it should be in the marketplace. A practicing lawyer by profession who is huge on human rights, a writer, entrepreneur, host and presenter of a law-based radio show. Our guest today is only too eager to walk us through the workings of the law, its functions and implications as regards civil rights violations. Make sure you stay tuned throughout the show as we have music, comedy, and a chance for viewers to win fantastic prizes on our Viewers Vault segment. Thank you for tuning in. This is MEMO. You have a message. It's MEMO. It's MEMO.
My people, welcome back from the break. On today's episode, we'll be talking about serious issue, a very crucial one, civil rights. And today on the topic, we have a very, very strong barrister. She's my personal barrister. I don't share barrister with anybody because I'm a big boy. So, relax, cool your temper, don't go nowhere. Let's meet our guest for today.
We have an interesting personality here with us on today's show. She's CEO, House of Justice, Principal Partner, Mive Legal. She is a newspaper columnist. She has a law degree, Masters in Criminology, Masters in Military Politics, and Masters in Law in View. Here with us is Balasin Gloria. Nice to have you on today's show.
Thank you for having me.
I must say you are a very inspirational personality.
And I'll have to say that you're extremely beautiful as well.
I'm blushing. Thank you very much. So today's topic is civil rights violation. So I'll be asking you a couple of questions on civil rights violations. So our first question is, can you help us shed more light on civil rights violation? What would you say in your own words is civil rights violation?
Civil rights is used in a broader context as against human rights, which is the term we recycle in Nigeria. And human rights are the fundamental rights that, as we say, God has bestowed on all humanity, that by the very virtue that you are a human being, you are entitled to those body of rights. But when we speak about civil rights at a broader context, we're talking about not just the human rights, but it also entails political rights and a couple of other rights also that are enjoined to ensure that the human being doesn't just exist, but exists in its entirety.
So the second question is, a lot of people react irrationally when they feel their rights have been violated. What do you think is the best reaction, or the best legal, should I say, yes, the best legal reaction people should take when their rights are violated?
Yeah, it's quite normal for people to fly off tangent when they find that their human rights are violated, because drawing from the definition of what human rights are, it means that when rights are violated, it's like taking a part of the person away. And that actually hurts. It doesn't just hurt legally, it also hurts, it takes its toll on your person, it diminishes you, and so you feel like you need a redress. And so people tend to be spontaneous in their reaction. But in being spontaneous, many times they go outside the scope of the law, and that's where we have a problem. Ideally, when a person's human right is violated, what the person should look for is redress. And that's why our courts exist, so that people who feel that their rights are violated can approach the court and find that the court would help them to retrieve whatever rights have been violated.
A lot of times people, I'm sure a lot of people would agree with me that most people are afraid to go to court. So do you have anything to say in respect to that?
That stems from the kind of culture that we have, not just in Nigeria, but in Africa. When you speak about going to court, people think that you want to be acrimonious, or you're stretching things beyond a certain degree. But when we don't go to court, where should we go to? It means that we want to resort to the feast rather than resorting to the law, and that's a problem. But beyond what our culture tells us that the court is a bad place to go, the court is actually a civil place to go, and it's the most rational thing to do, that when your rights have been violated, you approach the court. But speaking about going to court and the reluctance of people to go to court, there are quite a number of reasons. First, it is time consuming. Sure. Secondly, the scenario in court is a bit contentious, so people don't want to get themselves into the ring. Sure. Then thirdly, also it can also be expensive. So those are some of the reasons why people do not want to go to court. But I must also add that those are not very good reasons.
Sure. I hope our viewers out there who are scared of going to court have gotten what you have to say.
It's MEMO. It's MEMO.
Hello, in case you're just joining us, I am your number one presenter on MEMO. My name is Dan Hausawa. Only and always follow us on our social media, so that all those fantastic prizes we have will get them, will reach you. If you don't follow us, I get my barista. I will tell her sharp. We will knock for your door. We will ask you why you don't follow us on our social media. Facebook at MEMO Connect, Twitter at MEMO Connect, Instagram at MEMO Connect, even to go at MEMO Connect. you must follow us on our social media platform. For now, let's go back to our guest.
So the next question is, what is the difference between a protected right and civil rights?
Now, quite honestly, those are not terms that are quite popular in our own climate. But you would find that abroad, in the UK, in the US, they speak in terms of protected rights. But over here, because we need to speak to the consciousness of our people, since we're talking to a Nigerian audience, protected rights are those rights that people are entitled to. And so you cannot say, for instance, that you know, once you are entitled to a particular right or a set of rights and somebody comes in violation of those rights. And by the way, you don't even have to wait for those rights to be violated. If there's just an apprehension, a fear that those rights are going to be violated, you can approach the courts. So those protected rights are rights that are due to a person. And then you need to ensure that you protect the space. I'm not sure I got the second term you used.
Protected rights. And civil rights.
And civil rights. Now, civil rights was what I spoke about earlier, and I said in Nigerian context, what we use, what is more frequent are human rights. In distinguishing it, human rights are those rights that when they are violated, yes, we can seek redress. But protected rights are when we feel that, yes, there has been a violation, but then it may not find a redress in law. Okay. So yes, the human rights and are those rights that we can approach, especially the high courts, because that's the only court that has been sanctioned to address the issue of human rights. If you go to the magistrate court, you go to the customary court, Sharia courts, any of those lower courts, they don't even have the jurisdiction to attend to your issue, but you need to go to the high courts.
Okay. Do you think that foreign countries are more advanced legally?
It depends on what we describe as foreign. Nigeria, for instance, is foreign. and every time we speak comparatively, we think that Nigeria is such a dumping ground. I am one of those who certainly and absolutely does not believe in that. Yes, maybe when you talk about advanced countries, the US, the UK, Canada, and those countries within those sphere, perhaps South Africa, the issue of people being advanced in terms of their understanding of rights and what to do when those rights are violated or when there is even an apprehension that those rights are going to be violated is more. But that doesn't mean that our people over here are not growing. If you look at the statistics of the cases we have today in the courts, you realize that the number is quite different from what we used to have 10 years ago. Which means, yes, that there is an awareness that, yes, the court is not such a bad place to go. We may not agree with everything that is going on there, but at least we're all agreed on one point, that that's a place to seek redress.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, people, you must agree with me that it has been an interesting segment with Gloria Valasin. Let's go into the streets and hear what our people have to say about civil rights violation. We'll be right back.
Civil rights violation is tampering with one's rights, your rights in the society or Nigeria at large. So my civil right has been violated. I think one time like that we were on set, we were shooting, and police now came and were like, what are we doing? And have we paid for what we're doing? I've never heard of that you're shooting, you need to go and pay to the police or anything. What they wanted, taking our cameras and everything. It was funny. It was crazy.
Okay, civil rights violation is when you're being denied of your rights. Yeah, not really mine, but my husband. He went to do his driver's license. He paid for it, and he was captured. Then when it was due for him to collect the driver's license, they said they didn't capture him very well. So he was asked to pay another money, and that would be about 11,000, of which he refused to pay. So at the long run, they settled, they called him, they now said they've captured him, that they got it, though that he was missing before, that they finally got it. So they now gave him the driver's license.
Okay, like back there in my place, in my hometown, my brother and my cousin, they're in a neighborhood, small time, people start running. So the police people, they too, they don't even know what people are running for. But there is a joint at the back of our street. Say people do smoke there. So people started running. People from that street run enter our own. They too join, run. Police gather everybody, take them. They don't even ask questions. We have to bail them. And before we bail them, they have already beat them. You see all their faces. So such a thing I call violation of.
Yes, y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I go by the name of Classic, aka Seriki Kapta Savadi Ariwa Mafia. Right now, you're watching Memo. Don't touch that dial.
It's MEMO. It's MEMO.
Okay, people, for those of you just joining us, it's your favorite show, Memo, and I'm your host, Alberta Sego. Here with me, still in the studio, is Balasin Gloria, a barrister, to be precise. So, let's get straight to our next question. In Nigeria, people hardly file lawsuits for any wrongdoings. Why do you think this is so?
We have our traditional means of dispute settlement, and I need to say very quickly that those means of dispute settlement are quite effective, and perhaps we ought to have developed on it rather than allowing our system, our legal system, to be grafted by foreign ideas. And so, because the background from which we operate is quite different from what you find in other countries, and we have largely borrowed from other countries the laws that we operate, you'll find that there is a disconnect in terms of the implementation of the law, the understanding of the law, the workings of the law. It's quite different. And so when people go to the courts, what they have is a legal shock. They come in expecting, for instance, that if you steal my goat, you collect my goat and give me. But if at the end of the day you're sending a person who stole my goat to prison, I'm wondering, well, you've sent him to prison, but really, where is my goat? And that's the problem. We don't quite have a system that is indigenous in its manner of resolving issues. So I guess that is why people are quite disenchanted by the system.
Okay. So, which do you think is ideal, filing a lawsuit with the government or with a private law firm when it comes to civil rights violations?
Well, it depends on what the crime is. Crimes usually, when they are heinous, they are against the state. So when there's a case of murder or when there's a case of armed robbery, just citing a few examples, those are crimes against the state and not just related to the primary victim. And so in that case, it is now the state that takes it up through the Ministry of Justice of whatever state it is. And sometimes it begins from, police prosecutors. But now the law has been modified to ensure that whoever the prosecutors are, they must also be lawyers in addition. But also you can also have private legal practitioners who can take up cases of fundamental human rights, and in which case they will file fundamental human rights procedure papers and go to the High Court and pursue the matter until there is a proper determination of such matters.
Okay. So down to our last question.
Yeah.
What should one know about contacting a lawyer?
Just walking anywhere. You can walk in on the lawyer in the Ministry of Justice. You can walk in on the lawyer who is on your street. Anywhere. People shouldn't be afraid of lawyers. First of all, lawyers are human beings. And so we cannot act as if it is us against them, or that lawyers exist in their own world and then there are the rest of the world who are also existing in their own separate world. We all coexist. And you know, if we don't have the society, then we don't have lawyers. Of course, lawyers exist because there's a society. And so it's just about walking in and stating what your problems are, and you get them resolved.
So you treat me like a modern slave, Mr. Jailer. I've got that. Our uniforms, you are uniforms too. No, 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 no. Oh, yeah. I'm in chains, you're in chains too. Our uniforms and you are uniforms too. I'm a prisoner, you're a prisoner too, Mr. Jailer. Oh, I have fears, you have fears too. I'll die, but you self will die too. Life is beautiful, don't you think so too, Mr. Jailer? I'm talking to you, jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him is without sin be the first to cast a stone, Mr. Jailer. Mr. Jailer, man, you suppress all my strategies. You oppress every part of me. What you don't know, you're a victim too, Mr. Jailer. Oh, you don't care about my point of view. If I die, another will work for you. So you treat me like a modern slave, Mr. Jailer. I'm talking to you, jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him is without sin be the first to cast the stone, Mr. Jailer. Mr. Jailer. No. All we need is simple chords. A, you know. Yeah, something like that. This way. You see, if you walking in the marketplace, down throws stones. Even if you do, you just might hit one of your own. Life is not about your policies all the time, so you better rearrange your philosophies and be good to your fellow man. Stop calling me a prisoner. Let him is without sin be the first that cast the stone, Mr. Jailer. Oh, I'm talking to you, jailer. Stop calling me a prisoner.
Alright, my country people. Hope you enjoy our segment. So far, so good. And you also enjoy our guest for today. Civil right. The way they take this time now, it don't tire me. Small time, that don't break your head, that don't break your hand, that don't wound you. Meet any barrister close to you. Human rights will fight for you. Human rights, they are always there for us. They are for you, they are for me, they are for the whole nation entirely. This is our memo to you.
Society needs a system of rules to maintain order and protect persons and indeed properties from harm. And so it goes without saying that the citizens need the law as much as the law needs the citizens. Call it a symbiotic affair. A profession was born. The layman calls them lawyers, but amongst their colleagues and people who understand the weight and value of their hard working and experience, they are the learned crop. Get yourself a lawyer.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Nigerians, we have come to the end of today's show. I am your host, Dan Hausawa. Hope you follow us same time, same station on MEMO. This is MEMO. You have a message.